I got a brand new combine harvester and I'll give you the key. Hello there and welcome to the tour of the HoverHarvester of my first Run Addendum Hover Vehicles series. My name is Wimperman and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect and of course Chief Dumbass of the HoverHarvester project. So it was gonna happen as soon as I decided to start using the John Deere livery scheme, as you can see here, for my tree harvesting vehicles. I was going to build a combine harvester. I mean, considering I lives in Gloucestershire and that is farmer central, so here it is. Now I'm going to take you through the features of this vehicle, starting with its role and task equipment. So, it's not actually a combine harvester because it doesn't harvest combine. Insert Gordon Freeman joke here. So, it's actually a tree clearing and wood gathering vehicle. And in order to facilitate that, as you can see, it has 6 harvest modules. Harvester, they're called now. I might be wrong, but I'm sure they used to be called just harvest module, but again, I could be wrong. I might be misremembering. It also has a 15,000 SU ore and wood container for holding all of the logs that you chop down. Next then, I'm going to talk about its propulsion and its lift capacity. So, propulsion wise, it has 4 large thrusters for forward thrust. It has 2 large and 2 medium. Oh, I should be saying tier 1 as well, because there are large and medium tier 2 thrusters, and these aren't they. So yeah, 2 large and 2 medium for braking and reverse, and then its lateral thrust is 5 medium tier 1s. I've put 2 at the front and 2 at the back in order to try and get a decent amount of yaw. It hasn't really worked, but you know, it could have been worse if I'd have put them in as a bank of 5 across the middle. So the lift is provided by 2 large and 10 small hover engines that are on by default. There's also another 2 large hover engines set to max lift. It also has a whole bunch of RCSs, 3 on by default, and another 2 set to max lift. Now, with all of the hover engines turned on, so with max lift switched on, she can lift in 1G 530.5 tons. You half that for 2Gs and it will lift 265.25 tons. And then you half that again in 4Gs to be 132.6 tons. Now the vehicle itself weighs 28 tons. So 28, 56, so 112. So this is the first vehicle where I know for definite that it will operate in 4Gs. It won't carry much, it'll carry an extra 20 tons of wood. But yeah, which isn't much, but it will operate in 4Gs. So, as I've said in other vehicles, oh shush. So as you can tell, there's a sensor that controls some of the doors and shutters. So, as I've said in other videos, I don't know if it's enough just to divide its lift capacity by 4 from 1G to 4G, and then that's all you need to... That's all the maths you need to do to figure out whether it will operate in 4G, or whether you also need to quadruple its weight. I don't know. Right then, next is its power, fuel and air. Power, it has 3 large generators right at the front behind the header here. Shush already. Fuel wise, It has 6 tanks, but one of those is small. You can access the fuel tanks through this shutter here, where you can see 2 of them. The others are behind them there, except for the small one, which is in a little gap that was spare here. Air-wise, this is this is an airtight vehicle, and as you you have already gotten a glimpse of the O2 stations, or at least one of them, as she keeps lifting up her skirt, as it were, dropping her drawers. So there's an O2 station there, and another one on the other side, and it has 6 O2 tanks, 3 there, and then 3 more. Oh, sorry, 5 O2 tanks, 3 there, and 2 more behind them. Sorry, I forgot that there was one there, and then I had to remove it for an extra container extension, because I moved the controller in by 1 block, and then of course I needed to put in an extra extension to make it back up to 15k. Right. Oh, and I will prove. No, that's the wrong button for proving, and that's not how you pronounce the word button. So the air in here is a little bit weird, but while you're sat in the seat, it will work. Yeah. Right then, let's turn that back off. See, again, that's the wrong button. When I say at the beginning of the videos, dumbass, yeah, I'm not joking. Right then, next we're going to talk about its weapons, defences and construction. So it does come armed a little bit. It has a single Gatling turret by default, which is there. And the targeting parameters of said turret is my general purpose setup, as I call it, which is any life forms except for prey and any small grid, but only the weapons. So it won't target large grids or anything else on a small grid. Right, let's put that away. Its defences, well, it doesn't come with anything stock. What am I doing? Here we go. But it does have a slot for a shield, which I will come to later on. Its construction is almost completely steel, and that steel is almost full blocks. There is some carbon composite on the vehicle, especially the decorative blocks, like the John Deere yellow line across the sides, and these handrails, pretend handrails, and the steps, although again, oh no, yeah, they are all carbon composite. I think the header is all carbon composite as well. Yes, I'm right. Shush already. And in here is carbon composite apart from the very front block, because that is of course the exterior of the vehicle there. Oh, and underneath is steel. I thought it was carbon composite. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, okay, I remember now. So that's what I thought. It was all carbon composite, and then I remember I have upgraded these 3 blocks because above them is the core. So just in case you get some Xerax soldier underneath you shooting up at your core, I didn't want the block underneath the core to break after 2 bullets, and then and then the Xerax soldier kills your vehicle. Right, so that's that bit. Next then, the resource gathering, production and storage. So it does have other resource gathering than the harvester modules, and that's because it also has a drill there. Now it is a mechanical drill, which isn't going to be as useful as you would want. So I wanted a drill so that as you're clearing trees, let's see if we can find some, occasionally you'll come across, there you go, big rocks like this, boulders. So I've added a boulder drill for clearing those out the way. Now, I would recommend replacing that with a laser drill as soon as you can, but again, I'll cover that more later on. Other storage. Shush. It has a 375 ammo container behind this shutter on this side. It also has a pentaxid tank for when you add the shield. It has an armor locker on each side in the same little cubby hole as the O2 stations. And then in the cab you get 3 small cargo boxes and a mini fridge. Next then, I shall talk about its interior layout, or what there is of it, and its remaining devices. So, the way up onto this vehicle, actually... Yeah, go on, I'll land it. So, as you can see, I've got my usual hollow displays there for showing you what the key bindings are for the various toggleables. So, to get in, it is possible, although I don't know how easy this would be in, you know, like 4G or something. I'd imagine that would be quite difficult. The annoying thing is I keep bouncing off the light, but it is possible to hop up. As you saw, the doors are automatic. There is a sensor under the floor here. It might actually be under the floor there, but whatever. Yeah, and behind the seat is the ventilator for oxygenating in here, and the Wi-Fi. Everything else I've shown you. Obviously, it's not possible to get from one side of the cab to the other, but never mind. And the door from this side you have to open on your own. But, you know, I think that's okay. Remaining devices then. So, actually, I'll cover those more in the other things. The only thing I think I need to show you now is the detector, which is on the back there. Oh, and yeah, I need to take off again. So it has a whole bunch of docking pads. I also forgot to mention the jump boosters, which are there, but I'm sure you saw them anyway. Okay, next then is its shortcuts and signals. Well, I would say the sensors definitely count for that. So there's one on each side that does a little light there, another one up there, the cab door and that shutter. The same goes for the other side. There is also a sensor on the back, which I have forgot to paint because I'm a moron. And that light. And so I'm going to have to resave this in a minute and re-upload. Grr. So yeah, that sensor controls those two doors. There is actually a double shutter there, so that the controller there has a bit more health points between it and anything firing at it, and obviously it controls that little light as well. Right, so on to the main shortcuts. As usual, propulsion etc. is the first device group shortcut, toggle, which of course does all of the thrusters and what I call the default hover engines. The next one, as you saw, is max lift. Oh, sorry, the propulsion etc. also does 3 RCSs. Max lift, of course, does the other 2 RCSs and the other 2 large hover engines. Headlights, actually I will turn them on, is those 2 there, and then the 2 under the header. Wow, that affected my frames all of a sudden. Was it really those lights? Bloody hell. So the next one is the tail lights. Well, self-evident, but there you go. And then work lights is the other spotlights on the front. So the 2 on the ends of the header and the 2 at the top of the cab, which are actually diagonally downwards to help you light up any tree maybe in front of you. Next is the ventilator, as I have explained in other videos, although I will do it again. In case you're in a breathable atmosphere, I don't think it's enough just to turn oxygen off, because what that does is stops the ventilator from pumping air out of it, but it doesn't actually turn the ventilator off despite all the lights being off. If we have a look at the power left and then I flick the ventilator switch, you'll see it goes up. Now it's not a massive saving, but it is something at least. Okay, onto the signal toggle shortcuts. The power save is always the first on my vehicles, and that will turn off the sensors that open and close the doors and turn on and off the lights. It'll turn off the LCD projectors that show you the key bindings for the toggleables. It'll also turn off the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I did show you where that was behind the seat. Next is the hazard beacons. Now normally the hazard beacons would be automatic, but you can't really do that with harvester modules because they're always on. You can't turn them on with a custom signal. But the hazard beacons flash like so. You get 3 on this side and 3 on this side, and what that's supposed to do is make it look like there's a light on each side that strobes 3 times. It kind of does. And then I've got a couple on the header as well. The header, by the way, is this contraption that holds all of the harvester modules. Thanks to a Google search about combine harvesters. Yeah, that's enough of the hazard beacons. So the turrets you saw, I flicked on earlier. The drill, I think I flicked that, didn't I? Or did I? I think I talked about the drill and didn't actually get it out, but there you go. And the upgrade slot shutters, which are under here. And that leads me on nicely to the last segment, which is its CPU and upgrading. So the vehicle is a tier 2 CPU. It comes in at 11.8K of 12K, but it does have an upgrade path. Now if you open up the upgrade slot shutters here, you'll see the core, the extender there, and a whole bunch of red blocks. So if you remove the T2 extender, I would recommend turning the vehicle off before you do so, but I'm sure none of you are noobs and you will know that already. So you take that out, the red block above it and the 2 red blocks over here, and that's your slots for the tier 3 CPU extenders. And then these 6 blocks are where your shield goes. I have also given you an extra slot on the top here for another Gatling turret, so you can be a little bit more well armed. The CPU on these things I think is 2000, 1800, something, I can't remember now. 900, okay. So it was nearly 2000 with both of them. That is right, yeah, mumble. So yeah, with both of them on, it obviously took it over, so I had to take it off. But considering you still get one, I'm okay with that. And like I said earlier, I would recommend as soon as you can replacing that with the laser drill. Now the reason I didn't put that on is because I wanted to keep this as low of an unlock level as I could. So it's unlock level 8, and that's because of the large hover engines. But if I put the laser drill on as well, that takes it all the way up to 20. Oh, and in fact, that is also why it doesn't come with the shield. So the shield and the pentaxid tank are level 7. But considering the shield has a CPU cost of 15,400, and the tier 2 CPU, which is what you've unlocked at that point, is only 12,000. That's 3,400 over the CPU available at this level. And the tier 3 CPUs are unlocked at level 12. Elion, I know I've questioned something like this before. It might even have been the same thing, the hull shield. But the hull shield is unlocked at level 7, but you cannot use it because the CPU cost is more than the CPU extender that you get at level 7. So, in my opinion, you either need to lower the T2 extender to level 3 or level 5, and then lower the tier 3 down to level 7, and then maybe lower the tier 4 as well down to 10 or something, or you bump the polarized hull shield and of course its pentaxid tank up to the same level as the tier 3 extender, because you cannot use that at level 7. Anyway, blah blah blah. Right, so there we go. That'll be the end of the tour of my Combine Harvester. I hope you get some enjoy. Oh, I wanted to say this actually, sorry. With the whole upgrading thing, the fact that you can upgrade it to tier 3 and put a shield on it. In all honesty, I'm not sure why anyone would need trees so desperately that they would that they would have a tier 3 CPU vehicle to do it. I'm okay with having a tier 3 CPU vehicle that does lots of things including gathering trees, but I mean the option is there at least, but I'm not entirely sure why anyone would want to, but there you go. Anyway, right, so yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I'll see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.